Okay, I have a bit of a problem with Beowulf. Just out the gate, I think he has way too much incentive to stand still and hold shield. I think that's one of my biggest complaints about the character, is that he gets a lot of value by just existing and just holding his buttons. He has a lot of talents like Sparkling Shield. What's the other one? Runes of War, that get damage again by being really passive and not doing anything. So that's, from a gameplay enjoyment perspective, I'm kind of frustrated that he has so much value tied up in sitting there and contemplating his navel.
Yeah, he also, to add to that, he has Rampart, which again isn't damage, but it's heals. They made this heal cone in 1.0 a lot wider, so you can heal teammates a lot easier. And it's a really, really good heal if you take Rampart. He already heals on his shield. This makes you heal more. The only thing I won't take is Slander on Runes of War, because whenever I fight bubble crabs, I just slap them with my shield real quick so I can have the Runes of War around me and pop all the bubbles before they touch me.
And I think that's an ethical play style, right? Because you're actually being proactive with it. You slap them with your shield and you move around like normal. And bubbles are kind of an annoying thing in general. So I think that Runes of War having that favorable interaction is nice. But I do think that it is kind of frustrating to me that Beowulf will go into a fight and then be incentivized to sit still and not press any of his buttons, just hold his shield. And I think that there used to be some cheeses in the game where that you would essentially walk up to the boss and then just hold Sparkling Shield during the like arrow pulse phase in the chapter 1 boss and just sit there.
It's alive and well still. Challenge runs, especially when they get Berserker foes and corruption, that does a lot of damage still. I take advantage of it.
It just seems so dumb to me. Like,
I can agree.
And that's the thing, is like, I think that there are some things that are less enjoying to me. Another thing about Beowulf is that because he has the heal on his shield when combined with a trait, it feels very forgiving. Among all of the heroes, I feel if you die on Beowulf, you probably didn't have to. You know, you probably could have been just fine. He has one of the kits that allows him to get away with the most. I don't know. I don't love all of that. I think that it hurts the enjoyment of the character a little bit, that he just has so many forgiving mechanics in his kit. I'll get off my soapbox.
I think it's really funny that you say that, because pretty much every time I die as Beowulf, I'm like, I could have healed. Like it's right there. Like, well, I'm just greedy. I'm greedy and I'm going for damage. So looking at his starting talents, I used to think Draconic Binds was a take every single time, because in my mind, what you want to be doing with Beowulf is using your worm abilities with the power, special, or shield, and that reduces the cooldown and it makes those abilities do more. So yeah, it still is really, really good, and one of my favorite things to take. Rampart, I find myself not really taking as much. Rampart is, you're really focused on being a healer in my mind if you're going to be doing this. Explosive Fire is very, very good for the annoying camps in the game, like bird camps, like ghoul camps where you have spiders creating a whole bunch of enemies, because all of those little enemies that they spawn will die very easily, and you'll have these huge Explosive Fire procs taking out a bunch of enemies. Probably one of the most visually pleasing things in the game, to see a Explosive Fire proc throughout an entire camp.
And I think that it's cool too, because Beowulf really does lean into the ignited identity in his kit. There are other characters that apply ignited, but Beowulf, it actually has a lot of synergy with his kit and with his identity, which is nice to see. And then the last one is Shield Charge. So this one's really grown on me. I think in general, starting talents that give mobility, so that's like Distant Explosions, it's Shield Charge, I guess Rocket Science is like this as well. Like, these are all really good, and they're better the more experience you have with the character. I feel like Shield Charge is like that. When you look at it, it doesn't seem that crazy, but I really like the idea of mobility, it's particularly on the defense, because the things I've complained about the defense being really passive, Shield Charge actually mitigates a lot of that.
Same. I really, really like Shield Charge as well. One of the things I've experienced a lot with Beowulf, especially in these challenge modifiers where you get hit so much harder, is so many deaths from holding up my shield and not having Shield Charge. And the enemy walks right up to me and I'm like, okay, he's about to do his attack. Let's be proactive and put our shield up. And they wait and they wait. And I'm like, do your attack, please. And they wait. And then I slap them with the shield as they're starting their attack animation. And you're kind of locked there just for like a small animation lock. And I'll get hit and die there. Shield Charge being able to get you out of all those scenarios. Also, say like bubble crabs. Say you have 6 bubble crabs around you and they put bubbles all over the place. You're dead. If you just have a regular shield, you have to walk out of that. Shield Charge, being able to actually have it as an escape on your shield as well, is really, really nice, and being able to reposition that way. Going into Beowulf's builds though, his attack build is, to me, well, I guess his dash build is the only way I really currently enjoy playing Beowulf. I think he's probably one of the most beginner friendly characters, and I think because of that, his gameplay starts to become less fun the more you play the game. But Fiery Slash and Fireball is one of like the most just visually like enjoyable ways to play the game, just dashing around and hitting enemies with a big fire sword and having your worm shoot a fireball at them at the same time. That does a lot of stagger as well. It's really nice.
Yeah, the stagger off of Beowulf can be really, really nice. It's a big part of his kit. And then the attack build, like you're saying, Fiery Slash, Blade Master, Heavy Strikes. All these synergize really nicely. They come together in a really and Blazing Runes. Yeah, Blazing Runes
Mhm.
because you get all that extra crit chance. I think Beowulf and Scarlet both have very similar identities in the like dash attack style. Although you go into at level 10, Beowulf gets more of a what did you call it? A Charizard identity.
Yeah, that you got a little Charizard on your shoulder.
So I think that's one of the better things that he has going for him. It's funny because Beowulf is very much in the barbarian archetype. So Diablo is a big inspiration here, and also I guess in competitive MOBAs and stuff, Heroes of the Storm, which was a big inspiration for Ravenswatch. There's a barbarian character, and she has this similar like whirlwind ability. So you just spin like a top, and you can do damage. That kind of works in a MOBA because you're going to be fighting someone who also has a similar health pool, and if you get lifesteal, it becomes a staring match a little bit. I feel like whirlwind is a really hard one to make work in PvE because it's such a long animation. You can't have it balanced the same way that you would in a MOBA because you're not really matching up to comparable strength pools. You have to have these interesting environmental enemies. But I think the biggest thing that is really tough about Whirlwind is that it puts you into close quarters with enemies. It has some movement that can be a little bit unintuitive, and the iframes on it are wonky. So it's just I guess it's long duration too, because it's just going to move you around into places, and you can't spam it like you could like a Scarlet Special or something. So Whirlwind in Beowulf's kit is one of these things that if you build around, every time you pick a talent that helps with your whirlwind, you're like, I am willingly putting myself in danger.
Yeah, the one of the things that I kind of wish is that Beowulf had a special build. I mean, there's Fiery Seismo, there's Blade Storm, and there's Blazing Runes. Those are Blazing Runes is a thing that you want to take in most Beowulf builds. I think it's good almost all the time. Fiery Seismo is actually decent for applying ignite to enemies and clearing out like the small trash mobs. But again, it's not like that's all you really have to work with. There's secondary tremors, but that's in my mind more for a power build. But Blade Storm is also one of the worst talents in the game, and I think one that everyone would love if they took this out and just decided to do something else with it. Your special will spin more the more you upgrade it, which is really, really weird because they added more iframes to it, but you're also just putting yourself in danger more often. You're putting yourself in enemy attack range, so they're more likely to trigger an attack while you're doing this. I've heard the idea, add more spins, but in the same amount of time that his special already takes. And I could actually see that potentially being too strong. Like I could see like they might have done that and been like, this is just actually deleting everything with Blazing Runes, like how many hits you're getting off with your special. But I don't know. I wish he had a special build. I agree with what you're saying. I don't build into special. I'm gonna have to do a challenge run with it at some point, but
5 negative modifiers, just embrace the pain.
yeah, with Blade Storm, and I'm gonna suffer. But I normally just save the special for the iframe. I wait for I try to lure everything into one center spot. Use my shield to potentially get a stagger if something didn't stagger, and say it's like a scythe pig. Just try to time it and get the iframe on that. And I think that's unfortunately how you should be playing Beowulf right now, is not really using his special as much for like a build, but just to keep you in combat more.
And I guess going more to Shockwave, again, talking about like Diablo or Heroes of the Storm, the Shockwave ability is actually the best ability in the kit in that game. I'd say that here, Shockwave can be hard to get started. I feel like early on, it's not a lot of damage, but we were talking about this before, and you were telling me that you think that there's a really strong Shockwave build with Beowulf as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of the harder builds to pull off, but it involves Eruption, which makes your power explode at the very end, dealing more damage all around. You can take Scorched Earth, which just leaves a fire trail, but it's mainly just Eruption and Secondary Tremor. Secondary Tremor sends out a shockwave, dealing 120% of power's damage at common, so you get to upgrade that. If you're able to position yourself and land the eruption hit from secondary tremor on an enemy, it becomes very, very strong. If you take a bunch of power charges and you use Baylor's Eye, this becomes really strong. I even like taking double shock in this build, even though double shock's a pretty long animation lock, and battle cry, because before you get Baylor's Eye, I think one of the areas where this build is good is battle cry resets your power when you use trait. And so say you have like 4 power charges or 3 power charges, standing at a distance from enemies and just spamming power over and over with double shock and eruption, it actually does pretty good stagger, and you're going to end up knocking over most things as you do this. And then whenever you expend all your powers, click your trait to get your power back, but actually just go into your special and get the secondary tremors hit off. I did this in a challenge run. It's not posted yet and it won't be for a while, but it's pretty insane damage when you get that combo off. And it's a lot of just, they're long animations, so you can get like sniped by a bird or like a lightning genie or something, but you can kind of keep everything at a distance from you and just spam these attacks over and over, which I do like in his kit.
I agree with that. I think that the power has always struck me as something that'd be really fun to make it work. But like you're saying, it can be hard if you pick up, I don't know, say if you pick up double shock early, it does feel like such a long animation. But you know, you read it and
Mhm.
this is the damage aspect of this is really legit. Also, it being a power, that means that you can pick up a King of Clubs, right? There's a lot of things in the item department that can amplify this. I think that's actually why that power upgrades are not always as good in some characters' kits, is because they're aware that, you know, you can get that damage from somewhere else. But I feel like there's definitely validity to this, and I'd love to see it work. But I recognize, you know, in terms of the animation lock and the engagement, it's still pretty tricky to pull off. On the ultimates front, we have Dragonflight and Raging Chains, and I think we pretty much always pick Raging Chains.
For the most part, I think these are 2 ultimate. Raging Chain is decent on its own. I mainly use it for stagger. I think it does pretty decent stagger. It also says in its description is intangible during the whole ability. I'm gonna call cap on that. I feel like I've been hit so many
I've
times.
definitely been hit doing this one before.
Yeah, you take Raging Chain either for stagger or if you're going the dash build for the level 10 fireball. Vice versa, you take Dragonflight if you are going that power build and you have a bunch of power charges or secondary tremors for immolation, because it makes it during ultimate, Beowulf deals damage around him and all your abilities function as if they were worm empowered abilities. So say you have 4 power charges and you have Scorched Earth and Eruption, you're now getting that increased damage. I think the worm increases your damage by 50% when you use it with an ability. So you can just spam that over and over and get that damage bonus. But again, it's purely just for the level 10 aspect of it. The other one that they have, Sudden Growth, I've used it once before. For the most part, if you're going Dragonflight, it would be for immolation. So taking that other one, Sudden Growth, just feels really bad. The worm isn't super accurate when it's flying around like that.
Yeah, that's the thing about Dragonflight, is it does neuter your base kit because you no longer have a trait for its duration. It can feel kind of bad to pop it like until you get your level 10.
No, I agree with that.
I guess if you use like all your buttons right before you do it, then it's kind of okay. But I don't know. I put it pretty low. I think that it would be sitting next to Unchained Melody for me.
Yeah, again, the only reason I would take it is for that immolation at the very end. But I do like that they did make it. It used to be when your worm came back to you, you then had to wait for the trait cooldown again. I like that it's instant now, because that was sad.
Yeah, honestly, I just haven't played a lot of Beowulf in a while. I remember I went back to him not so long ago, and I did a Dragonhide build that was all right. But like you, I haven't loved playing the character in the last little bit. Apology to the Beowulf enjoyers in the chat. You know, you enjoy what you play, and there's no shame in that. But right now, I'm not enjoying the character that much. I should just do the
No.
dash build. That's what I should really be doing at this point. You know, that's on me.
Yeah, if you haven't done that yet, that's one of the most fun builds to do in the game, because when you hit that level 10 and you get Fireball, you just have this joy of like, oh my God, wait, this character is insane. I've never seen this character do something like this. So yeah, it gets really fun.